Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here's your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Good morning and welcome to Faith in Our Hometown, our weekly discussion on issues of faith, politics, wherever those things intersect with our lives as people here in the greater Joplin area. My guest this morning is Ricky Smith. Ricky is the Assistant Director at Crosslines, which is one of our local food bank charities that operate here. We did a show on Crosslines way back when we first started, and that was one of those shows that got bumped by sports. Go figure. But at any rate, so we decided we were going to do this over again because we wanted you to have a full slot to talk about Crosslines. I know that there have been some exciting new things happening in Crosslines. So we are going to be back to talk about those in just a second. Right now, we're going to cut to our Mercy Minute, and thanks to Mercy for their sponsorship of our show. We will be right back to be with you in just a moment.
I thought about bariatric surgery because the struggles I've had with my weight all my life. Every time I tried a new fad diet or a new diet, it seemed like I always put back more weight on than I lost. And then of course that leads to a very downward cycle of being very hard on yourself, being very depressed. It's been amazing. I mean, it's been shocking. I feel like a whole new person, you know, inside and out. You know, it's just not with the surgery, but also with the care team and everything involved. The dietitian, the therapy, and everything has been. I feel reborn. I'm able to do things that I want to do. I'm not held back by my weight. I'm not held back by my depression. I'm not held back by the emotional weight and physical weight I was carrying around. I feel free. I feel like I can do anything.
So welcome back. Again, my guest this morning, Ricky Smith from Crosslines. So folks who are listening this morning may not know anything about Crosslines. First of all, tell us, Ricky, what is Crosslines? And then tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Crosslines is a place where volunteers come to really serve God's people in need. We work through church and community partnerships. We've been in the community 35 years.
Yeah. And those partnerships are all different kinds of churches throughout the Joplin area.
Yeah, we work with about 61 different churches throughout the area, different levels of service to the organization. Some have Sunday school classes that send us a check on a monthly or quarterly basis to help us meet needs. Other folks do canned food drives in the churches and bring those items to the pantry. And then we have other folks that once a month a church or a team from a community organization comes in and they work directly with our clients.
Yeah, I know that from St. Peter's we have a group that goes over there. And again, for us it's really important that this is a collective ministry, that this is like everybody trying to work in unity to do that. And that to me, I love that idea because, well, just like some of our clients, you know, they need a little bit of help from somebody else to help get by once in a while.
Absolutely.
Okay? And we, by working together, find it a whole lot easier to get by with the assistance of each other and of those other churches.
Absolutely.
So 61 now, that's great.
Yeah, about 61 churches in town, and we just continue to have an outpouring of blessings, and we know that we're doing the work that we're supposed to do, and the community trusts that work to us because we've been doing it for so long, and we have a proven track record of being able to meet those needs. And it's our friends and our neighbors and our family that come to see us every day, and so we just try to wrap our arms around them and try to meet those needs with the resources that we've been provided.
Yeah. So how long have you been at Crosslines now?
Almost 2 years.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely, almost 2 years. And it has been a true journey, opening eyes every day. We had a meeting this week and somebody talked about instead of making your mark, it's more like a heart print than a thumbprint. And those moments that carry us from day to day in our service to our clients, and it's those moments that we capture and remember and mean so much to us.
Well, that's great. I always enjoy, like every once in a while, you'll filter through St. Peter's. We'll host a meeting, one of the monthly meetings or something, and so I'll get a call from one of my folks and say, hey, can we host the meeting? Sure, no problem, let's do that. But it's always, I love the energy in the room by the different churches, the different member churches that are there, because the fun part about that is that, it's just kind of neat to hear what's going on at some of those other places, and it's neat to hear that, even though we may have a different, banner on the outside, whether it be Baptist or Catholic or Methodist or whatever, the fun part is this is one of those times where we can all come together, and when we're coming together in service, we don't have time to disagree with each other over polity or theology or anything else. We just get in there and serve. And I like that part. I like that part a lot.
We do too.
So recently, you guys moved into your new digs. I know it's been a few months now, but I mean, still. But I mean, for you, it's still relatively new. So talk a little bit about, how all that came about and how you got going now and what the new facility's like.
Well, we moved out of our old facility where we'd been serving since the mid-'80s. We'd had 3 different additions to that building, and they were, let's configure a little more here and a little more here. And we'd really gotten to the point where we had maximized that space. And so a few things fell into place, and it ended up with us being able to afford to purchase some property and a building that's 10,000 square feet. And then we were so blessed to have the funds come through to actually help us renovate that facility for our programs.
Now that's a much larger building that is much better equipped at handling what you're trying to do over there. So what exactly does Crosslines do, again, for so many of our listeners who might not know?
Well, one of the main things we do is we're an emergency food pantry, and clients come there. Our new pantry is configured so that clients actually, when they're seen by one of our staff members, we kind of do an intake and assess some needs that they might have. And then if they're going through the client choice pantry, they actually take their own shopping cart, and it's set up much like a grocery store. And the fresh fruits and vegetables are on the shelf, and they can pick what they can use of those. Other items, they're labels on the shelf that say, how many items that size a family can get. And so the clients are actually able to choose, just like they were in a grocery store, the items that they're taking home that day.
Which is wonderful because, I mean, we've all had the experience of, you give somebody something and they, sometimes don't know how to cook it. Sometimes their kids don't like it or whatever. And I know I'm going to, yes, I understand that if you're hungry, you'll eat anything. But when we get the choice of handing them, spaghetti versus macaroni and cheese, and they've got that choice for which kind of pasta they want and which one why wouldn't we give them that opportunity?
Yeah. It's a great benefit to them, and the clients are loving it.
Right.
They are so grateful, and they express that to our volunteers that work in there every day. So it's really making a big difference in our clients' lives to have that choice, just like anyone would have that choice.
Exactly.
They get to choose that for themselves. It's really important.
And that's wonderful. I think I love the fact that in the facility you got this space to be able to do that.
Yeah. We also have a program that is a monthly food program, and that actually the items that are in there come from the federal government. It's an addition to the SNAP, the food stamp budget for the family. And clients come once a month, and we do that program on Wednesdays. We served 166 families in 4 hours one day. And so it's our highest volume for our services for food.
Yeah. So, who are your typical clients? Who comes to Crosslines?
Typical clients might be the low income, or certainly those who are in crisis. If there's some sort of crisis in the home, we've got many programs that would be able to potentially help out a family. So,
It's like what kind of crisis? I mean, in terms of?
Well, we would get referrals. For example, if there was a house fire, Red Cross would send out a voucher to many organizations and say, these are places that can help you, and so you can take that voucher there. Other crisis, I actually have had folks at my desk who had emergency custody of a small child that was related to them, but they weren't necessarily close to, and their children were well past the infant toddler stage. And when that emergency custody comes, you don't know where to turn or what to do. And so oftentimes folks like that might be able to access our services. We've also had people who've left domestic violence situations, or just folks who are downtrodden. Something might have happened that is outside of the realm of their normal daily lives. And it is so humbling to know that we all might be a step away from that at any point. And so that's why our work is so important.
Yeah, and I just, I even remember in my own life, I mean, granted, I've got a roof over my head and, and all that kind of good stuff, but I remember living from paycheck to paycheck just in terms of, writing my bills and, what happens if something goes on. I mean, I don't have to worry about it if the air conditioner goes out, the refrigerator goes out or something like that. I mean, I got someplace, I'm taken care of in that regard. But, you know, I just kept thinking, you know, gosh, you know, suddenly it was dawning on me for the first time at, you know, 26, 28, people living from hand them out, you know, because I'm living for this, I won't be able to make my car payment until I get my check.
Absolutely.
You know, I won't be able to do this until, and for some of those folks, if something goes wrong, you know, when they've got everything spoken for, you know, like this, and everything is all nice and neat and everything else, well, something comes along to mess up that plan.
Absolutely.
They are in a world of hurt.
Especially if it's something medical, or let's say, you know, dad's working in mom's home with the little children and dad breaks his leg and can't work for 3 weeks. That really puts a crisis situation into overdrive, and that's a place where we might be able to help with not just food, but also, you know, if it's back to school time that's happening, we would have clothing available or household items, or we might be able to help with some rent and utility assistance, just depending upon what those situations are. So we've really positioned ourselves to be able to take care of a lot of those needs, to really be a safety net organization. But looking forward, we're also looking to get to the root cause of some of the issues that we have clients facing, and be able to support them through a way that they might be able to get up and out of that situation.
That for me is always a big issue. You know, what are those root causes? What can we do? So speak a little bit about that. What do you see are some of the root causes for some of the reasons for why folks would have to access services like Crosslines?
Well, one of the things that we're actually looking at now is we've been talking for several months about a program called Jobs for Life. It's a program where we've really kind of come to this program looking at, for many years we've taken care of clothes and food and shelter, but down our priority list might have been the job situation. And really the paradigm, if we flip that and we address the job situation and help that family become stable in that area, then they're able to take care of the food and the clothes and the stable housing. So we're looking at some things like that that might be able to help a new program come in. We're looking at maybe mid-March next year for kind of a timeline to ramp that up in the facility. We're looking at other training programs about budgeting and gardening and canning, and even just some healthy habit kind of things. You know, people like to gather and learn things together and teach each other, and if we can pass along some of those healthy habits, it helps people feel like they're part of that community there. And we've got a great new room to do that in.
Great. So now you're also being able to expand into more education and making a difference things rather than just the Band-Aid of, oh my gosh, you're hungry and now we got to give you some food.
That's where we're going.
Yeah, good. Well, that's excellent. And all that's because of the new facility.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you got, so the new facility is a bigger food area, you know, certainly education areas and things like that. What was your old square footage again? I'm trying to think. It was a lot smaller.
It was under 7,000, and that was the total space. That wasn't the usable space. You know, if you have a beam, that takes a few feet here and there, and so I think the usable space of the whole facility was around 6,500 square feet, and we're at 10,000 now.
That is great, and that came about somewhat from selling the old property.
And some grant money.
Somewhat from grant money. Certainly donors and some of your donor churches, you know, making some donations and things like that. God love them. And then also grant money to redo the facility once you had it.
Yes, sir.
And where are you located real quick?
320 South School.
320 South School. Okay. Well, my guest this morning is Ricky Smith. Ricky is the Assistant Director at Crosslines. We've been talking a little bit about what Crosslines is and what they do. And we are going to be back right after a short break.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
Well, again, welcome back. Ricky Smith is with us here from Crosslines this morning. We're talking about what Crosslines is and what Crosslines does. Wish lists. What would you like to see done, other than that program you talked about in terms of, you know, ramping up to help people, you know, do the, you know, job improvement thing first? What other wish lists are on your dream board over there at Crosslines?
Well, let me tell you about a dream.
Okay.
This is one of the most exciting things about our new property. We've been working with the Ozark Gateway Master Gardeners for over 10 years at Crosslines, and they build a garden and all the produce comes in for our clients. We've just done strategic planning with them. We're working with our board and some volunteers, and we're making a plan, a long-term plan for the acreage on the north side of the property. If you drive by, there's a greenhouse out on the northwest corner. From there all the way to the fence will be garden. And we're looking at community gardens. We're looking at a garden for the master gardeners to be able to develop it for teaching and learning to help meet their mission. So we'll be developing that property over the next several years, just with the most exciting gardening things I could ever have conceived of. We're talking about maybe a gazebo someday so we can do outdoor education and maybe have music in the garden and community events there. So we really hope it'll be a place where people will come and learn and grow with us, and then in turn be able to put that fresh produce back into the community and back into our pantry. So it's a very exciting piece of our programs.
Well, and again, the exciting thing about that too is not just is it, you know, good for demonstrations and all those things, but the hope is obviously that your clients will also learn how to develop a taste for gardening. And so many people don't even know how to do those things. And with your master gardeners to teach some of those lessons,
Exactly.
It's kind of like, we, I mean, there's a lot of discussion these days about sustainable living and being able to do, there's so many restaurants that have sprung up that just says, oh, they're only going to eat and do what they can grow and produce right there. Well, this is a huge step for that for people who maybe have never gone there before in their entire lives. But to grow it on their own property, to be able to harvest it, the pride and that goes in with doing that, and to be able to make a difference in the lives where they can grow some of their own food and make their budgets stretch farther to where hopefully, please God, they won't need a Crosslines. They'll just be able to do it on their own and have the joy of doing that. They can bring some of their extra and give it to the pantry.
That's exactly what happens. We actually participated for the first time this past summer in a program called Grow Well Missouri. It's a University of Missouri Extension program. It had been done in about 6 communities across Missouri, and they expanded another 6 this year, and they're looking to expand again. And that is exactly what they found. The program provided seeds to pantry clients. Those clients who took them home and grow their own food were bringing back their excess to be able to help their neighbors in need, and that is what it's all about.
Oh yeah. And and there's a lot of cooperation between the other organizations in town that do, feed people. Salvation Army feeds people, St. Peter's feeds people through the Outreach House. We got some of those things going, and I know that, like, for example, if somebody gets in a shipment of stuff that they know that they can't clean up and get out to their clients, they'll call the food distributors and say, okay, can we bring you, this, this case of, these 6 cases of cabbage? Well, okay, all right. Well, guess what? Then the food pantry, not the food pantries, but the food, like the food kitchens, if you will, can get to work, and we'll have slaw, and we'll do this and we do this, and again, we're going to do some of that with the with the old, you'd be able to do that. I know we got some kraut makers around here too, good German kraut makers. We can do those things and save some of that food, to be able to do that. And again, rather than having it thrown out because we can't get to it or use it fast enough. Again, I always been told, that even throughout around the world, there's probably enough food, because we don't know how to distribute it. We don't know how to get it where it's supposed to go. And even doing that in our own community is a tricky thing. Yeah,
we have a lot of partners we work with in town, and I think we've been pretty good at distributing those kind of things. It was pretty difficult during our transition while we were kind of homeless for a year, and it was difficult sometimes to make sure that all happened, but now that we're in the new facility, things are kind of settling in, and we're able to make sure that distribution's happening even easier.
Yeah. And it always just makes me happy when I know that we're working hand in hand to do some of those things, in terms of making sure that everybody can go to bed with at least a full belly, even if we can't solve some of the other problems that exist, that we at least make sure that people can be fed, and go to bed feeling comfortable, and that kids can wake up and go study the next day because they got something for breakfast. Those kinds of things are really important. So that's one of your dreams, this whole gardening thing. I think that is a phenomenal dream.
There are a lot of people going to be involved in that. It's
Oh,
going
yeah.
to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal.
Well, it'll be kind of fun to just see how that whole thing unfolds, because this is the first I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I haven't been to one of the church meetings in a while, and somehow that one has kind of escaped my radar. So I'm really glad I've got you on to be able to talk about that. Other things. What else should we know about Crosslines? What else are you doing over there that we need to be aware of?
Well, our organization.
Or how could we help?
Oh, that's exactly where I was going, is that our organization is so volunteer driven. We have about 250 volunteers a month that come and work in our facility. We need people to come work in the Client Choice Pantry. Those folks get to have one-on-one contact with clients. They take them through, they help them shop, they answer questions. They're there to really be a friend and a mentor and talk to those clients as they go through. We need people to help check out at the front desk after a family's gone shopping in the shopping area for clothes and other items that are back there. We need folks to help them get those prepared to take to their homes. We've got people who sort donations every day. While we were in transition, we had 3 semis full of donations, and it's a matter of, you go through every article. We want to make sure that the stuff that we have offered to our clients is a top quality, that it's in good shape, that is not a shirt that has a stain or a pair of pants that has a rip. We want to make sure that they're getting items that they can actually use. And so we have folks that they inspect and sort and display and distribute those items every single day. Commodity days on Wednesdays, we've got a team, and it is so efficient. It is wonderful. But we could always use someone else, another set of hands in there to help us out with that kind of a task. And so there are just a lot of places people could get involved.
Sure. If they would do that, they would contact you.
Yes, absolutely. They can just call the office and get in touch with us, or drop by, and folks want to have a tour of the new building. If it's somebody who might have been a volunteer at one time and hasn't been in a while, and they want to see the new place, or if there's a community organization that would like to have a meeting there and talk about Crosslines and our services, we're more than happy to have that.
So give us a phone number and an email address where they might find you.
The phone number is 782-8384.
One more time, 782-8384.
8384.
Yeah. Okay. And they can ask for Ricky.
Yeah,
or any of the volunteer services. All right. Do that. And an email address maybe for anybody that does that?
Yeah, my email is ricky@crosslinesjoplin.org.
RIKKI.
Yes, sir.
At crosslinesjoplin.org. Okay. Well, those are all good ways that our people in our community can do that. I would, just say, I've always felt Crosslines is a great and valuable partner in the community, because we shifted our way of doing things. We were doing some of the same things that Crosslines was doing several years ago. And one of the ways that we shifted was, we thought, well, if we just found out we were doing better by trying to push people to the same food distribution places for some of those things. It was making it more efficient in terms of making sure that nobody was taking advantage of the system and doing those things. And we were finding it easier to do that. So we decided to shift our organization to feeding, because at that point in time, Salvation Army had gone to only feeding every other day. And so we thought, well, there's our answer. That's how we can shift and to do that. Well, we'll feed every other day at that point in time. And so, like we now feed on a Sunday morning because nobody was feeding on Sundays. And we thought, well, okay, the people are still hungry on Sundays. If they're out of food, let's do it. So we shifted to do those things. And I know that many of our other smaller churches that don't have all those same resources or all those same volunteers, I think it's really important that we continue to have those conversations with each other, and to find out what everybody else is doing, so that we can not duplicate services, so that we can support each other in going for some of those things. What might some of our other listeners out there, who maybe they're not Crossline churches yet at this point in time or whatever, what would a church do if they wanted to kind of join in the effort?
The same thing, actually, if they wanted to call the office and speak to either Kathy Lewis, our executive director, or to me, we would be happy to talk to them about what process might be involved in that, and some of the different ways that churches could get involved. Like I said earlier, we have folks that they send us a financial contribution on a monthly or quarterly basis. We have folks that do a food drive for us each month along a theme of what one item we might ask for to kind of bulk that up in the pantry. We also have folks that come in and bring a volunteer team once a month. But we have a lot of other ways for churches to get involved, and especially with new programs coming, they might find something there that would really be of interest to them. We'd be glad to talk about that.
Yeah, and I think that if people would tour, if people would come out and see the facility, they would be absolutely impressed by the good work that you guys are doing. And not just the beauty of the facility, but the beauty of the people that are running it, because you guys have got good hearts, and I think you take very, very, very good care of the clients that come your way. We're proud. I know that we're proud, and I know that most of the other member churches of Crosslines are very proud to be in that cooperative effort to do those things. My guest this morning has been Ricky Smith, and we are talking about what Crosslines does. Crosslines is one of the great food pantries here in our area. Does a lot of service for the folks in our region. And so, Ricky, it's been great having you with me this morning. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. We're going to do a Mercy Minute, and then we're going to come back and wrap things up. So don't go away.
I think it's important to see the plastic surgeon beforehand, so that way you know what the options are in terms of reconstruction, whether it's one breast or both breasts, or whether if they opt for what's called conservative therapy, if you have a lumpectomy and radiation, what are your options after that? So I think it just empowers women to have more information to decide what's the best decision for them moving forward. Some of the pluses about immediate reconstruction are that you, for the most part, have one less surgery, and also psychologically, a lot of women just love knowing that they've already started the healing process.
Well, one of the things about being people of faith is that we feel a need to respond when there's a need, and try to do that in a way that's responsible. Good use of resources, good use of our time, good use of trying to make sure that we're doing things the way that we think those who founded us would like it to be done. And so feeding the poor is usually one of those things. We in the Catholic tradition would call it one of the corporal works of mercy, but feeding the poor. Clothing those who don't have adequate clothing. Crosslines is one of those cooperative efforts from 61 different churches here in the Joplin area that comes together and takes care of some of those needs for us under a larger umbrella. Many of our smaller churches wouldn't have the resources to do some of those things, and by us coming together, we're able to do so many things, I think, better than any of us would be able to do by ourselves. So one of the things that I think we got to continue to do is to look as people of faith for how we can cooperate with one another as we work together as people of faith. This is Faith in Our Hometown. Come back and see us again next week.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.